Well, this is the big dance. Welcome to the Good Form preview for what is the Blue Ribbon night of Victorian harness racing, you'd have to say. The Breeders' Crown has got its own place, but Hunter Cup night now, particularly with the addition of the Great Southern Star, is very, very special. 11 races on the program, kicks off at 6 o'clock sharp. Baker, interesting race to kick us off, a Metropolitan Maiden. Mal Major was really good in that Rising Stars heat. Unlucky to miss the final, was an emergency for that. What are your numbers?
2, 4, 7 and 8. I am with him, Mal Major. Interested to see what happens at the start. There's a little bit of speed outside him. Not sure whether they can cross him, but even if they do, he probably won't get back any further than behind the leader. And as you say, his run in the Rising Stars heat was very good, all things told. He just got strung up behind horses late when he was going to run into the finish. And he looks immoral in this race, to be perfectly honest. If he produces that sort of form, I think he's just better than them. But in saying that, Staggerly's a nice progressive horse. He's shown that over his first preparation in Australia, and now he's getting back to that in his second. He's got good early speed. Outside of those, Ascot Encounters somewhere in the mix back to the sprint trip and Follow the Wind if it gets a lovely run through. Can run a place.
Yep, I've settled on 2, 4, 6 and 7. Probably not quite as bullish as you about the fact that Dale Major's immoral, although I've always been a fan of the horse. Terrific run last time out. He just seems to be a horse who can find a little bit of bad luck in his races. So the 220, I wouldn't want to be delving into anything shorter than that about him. But if he I didn't have him in front of my speed map, to be honest. I thought that Emmanuel and Staggerly would both come out charging. If Staggerly found the front, it would improve his chances infinitely. Obviously, High View Rule is the one that you've left out that I'd be throwing in if you're playing wide in early quads. Second race on the program is that Rising Stars pace final that Al Major narrowly missed out on, or unless there's a scratching, he missed out on it. I thought there were 3 key runners here. You really gave a really good push for Magic Oats last week. You couldn't have probably envisaged what happened in transit on the last 200 metres, but are you sticking with him one more time on Saturday night?
I think you have to. The way he won, he showed really good high speed, but that's not all he's got to him. I went 6, 8, 10 and 2. We saw 2 starts ago at Ballarat on Cup night where he sat outside Roy George and went down fighting. Look, if he has to sit outside them again, I don't think it's the world's biggest issue. I still think he probably just has enough bottom to be too strong for them. All 3 runs in Victoria have been spot on. I think he's clearly the horse to beat, but in saying that, you've half swung me towards 4x10 in the last couple of days. You go back and watch his run in the heat of this race, and he was bursting through the last 50 metres. I've never seen a horse finish quicker in that sort of grade. He was humming late, so if he gets a split at some stage, probably from 3 pegs, and he's going to be somewhere in the mix. And I thought Yarrington Bob was very good last time, driven a bit tougher. Maybe he can make a 3-wide move in the last lap and put himself into the race. And Queen of Pop's your early leader, I'd say, and she's going to fight on somewhere as well. 6 to beat 8, 2 and 10.
Yeah, you're renowned for sticking with your little babies once you find them, so no surprises that Yarrington Bob got a gig in the first 4 for you. 6, 8, 1 and 2 for me. I sort of have talked you into 4x10, but at the same time I've stuck with your top tip, Magic Oats. You don't have to be a genius to have watched the video of 4x10 to know that he was really impressive, but he'll need a lot of luck from the draw again this week. Looks like Heaven is the one I'm willing to stick. I've tipped her on top. She was a little bit unlucky that Magic Oats got out and was able to run past her. He's obviously a better horse, but from right in behind the leader again, going to get every opportunity. I thought they were the 3 key winning hopes. Queen of Pop will be leading for a long way, but I think something will run her down. Race 3 on the program. It's the first of 5 Group 1s on the program. It's the Ladyship Cup and the start of the Mark Purdon train, the All-Star train. She's very short of Piccadilly Princess. I think it's very situation specific here how short she should be. Is she more?
Probably, yeah. I'd say she's about her right price. I'm not one to dive into odds on necessarily, but I can't see anything that's really going to challenge her. I went 4, 5, 7 and 11. Look, the big question mark is hell of a way. She's going to cross Shakahari early. Whether she wants to hand up to a Piccadilly Princess or not, I'm not sure. I think she probably will at some stage if Mark Purdon comes knocking. And from there, the way a Piccadilly Princess has won her last 2, you'd think she'd just be too strong for them. Beresari's a really good quality mare. She's 3rd up now. She finds the right sort of race to get back into the winner's stall if a Piccadilly Princess does have to work hard early. She's the key danger, but also Rocker Band was terrific, albeit off a soft run last week. We know her quality back in New Zealand, and Millie Perez, if they do go really quickly early, is the one that I think can get into it late at big odds 4 to beat 5, 7 and 11.
Yeah, same first 4, slightly different composition, 4, 7, 11 and 5. I suspect Piccadilly Princess won't go straight across hell of a way. I think that's fairly obvious, but Beresari will almost help her cause, I think, because Beresari's got to go forward. Mark Purdon's then going to say, all right, we've got to put the foot down, get to the front so that Beresari can have the chair. As long as they don't absolutely burn up the Tabcorp Park Mountain track, They should dominate from there, but if they do, I still concede the two horses you've already mentioned, Rocker Band and Millie Perez, who both have scintillating high speed as legitimate threats. And I think Millie Perez is still maybe the best bet in the race at $16 and around $2.80 the drum. 4, 7, 11 and 5. It goes from big to bigger as Dumb and Dumber here gets through it. And Victoria Derby final, the Blue Ribbon race was a 3-year-old. You know, if you go through and say, do you want to win a Vic Bred Super Series, a Breeders' Crown and Derby, I still think the traditionalists would say we want to win the Victoria Derby the very most. Vincent, the draw has hurt him. It's a doomsday draw. There's varying opinions of whether the $1.50 is about right, too short, too long. What camp are you in?
I'd say it's probably a touch of overs. Again, you're not diving into a $1.40 or $1.50 chance, but based on what he did on heat night, as you've said throughout the week, if Lazarus wasn't there and wasn't in a Victoria Cup, this is the run we'd all be speaking about. He was enormous. And I think based on that, he can drop out to last, go around to the breeze and still be way too strong for them. He's getting better all the time. We know that from Mark Purdon. He was maybe the 3rd or 4th, even 5th best horse, 3-year-old boy in the stable or 3-year-old in the stable, and now he's right up there next to Ultimate Machete, maybe a touch below still. But based on what he did last week, he has to be too strong, I think. Our Little General is in an interesting position. The Defiant's very quick. If he crosses the 2 inside him, he'll probably hand up to Our Little General, or Our Little General can try and dig up and take the lead off Rapper's Delight first. Not sure how it pans out, but I think he's probably the main danger off a very good heat run first up, should improve. Rapper's Delight was one of the unluckiest horses in the heats. He ran a good 3rd, and from the good barrier, he'll be thereabouts. And a stride, I think, is better than people give him credit for. He's the other one I'm throwing in. 8 to beat, 2, 1 and 5.
Yeah, I think it gets pretty tricky outside the top tip. I'm sticking with Vincent. I'm actually in the camp that I think he's too short, to be honest, because the 2,240 metre trip, it's not the same as the long journey where you get an opportunity to balance up, do your own thing. He's going to have to get on his bike pretty quickly after dropping back to last. So it'll be special to watch if he does win. Most are expecting him to do it. I'll be taking some credit here if Rapper's Delight wins, because I liked him before the series.
True.
And we were pumping him up before the draw.
We did give him a good pump.
Neither of us had a Zac on at $6 a place before the draw. Now he's about $1.70. So well done, boys. Our Little General's the other key chance of mine. I think he's being underrated as well at $11. He's your Breeders' Crown champion. I think he'll come on quickly because he's only a small horse here. If he finds the front, hard to beat. B-Jack's Legend also in the mix, but it goes pretty deep. You don't want to forget E-Main Macca, and the Defiant's worth a little bit at $13 a place, the scenario you outlined, Baker. First leg of the quaddie is the M1 to M2. We've got one scratching here. Adam Cartwright gets into the big dance later in the program after the scratching of Cruz Bromac. Huey Green, the big monster from New Zealand, is he immoral? He's been heavily backed.
Yeah, I think he has to be, based on what he did first time out in Victoria for John Cremin. It was an extraordinary run, really good there. I know he's drawn poorly. I went 11, 6, 10 and 5. I think he can go around and put the pressure on again and just outstay them based on what we saw and what we know of his best form in New Zealand. He's probably a class above them in M1 to M2 class here. So Huey Green clearly for me. Stunning Grin is the interesting runner. He's dropping in grade. He's very quick off the gate. He could probably lead them if he really put the foot down at the start, and from there I think he'll be an improved effort and certainly one for your multiples. Charlie McSheen just keeps running honest races. He'll be hitting the line again, and maybe Saladin Reba, another of the quick beginners, if he found the pegs first, could be one to throw into your multiples. 11 to beat, 6, 10 and 5. I
think with all that early speed it will actually make it for the class runners in the race. Drawn outside the second line, Charlie McSheen and Huey Green. We've got Love and Chevy, you'll fly the arm. Saladin Reba likes to get off quickly. Stunning Grim will want the front, so they're going to burn up early, you would imagine. I've gone with Huey Green on top. I'm not sure he's immoral as much as some other people think he is. Charlie McSheen's racing in terrific form. If he got the right run, he'd be dangerous. And I just think one of my old mates, Bad Boy Brad, is starting to trend back in the right direction. He'll need favours, but if he gets them, he's in the mix somewhere. I don't think there's any other winning hopes, although I can see that if Stunning Green got to the front without absolutely destroying itself, it's a pretty classy commodity. 11, 10, 3 and 6 for me in the first leg of the quaddie. We move on to the second biggest race of the night from a prize money perspective, the biggest square gaiting race in the Southern Hemisphere, the Great Southern Star. There seems to be a really big groundswell of support for On Thunder Road, but your favourite is still Speeding Spur. Which way are you headed?
I'm an On Thunder Road man. I think it's his time.
Bruce Springsteen too. Thunder Road's one of his. He only played the other night, didn't he?
Who's drawn behind the pole marker?
The Boss Man.
The Boss Man. I went 2, 5, 1 and 8. I think it's his time on Thunder Road. I know everything went wrong at Ballarat, where it just didn't work out for him and he ran last or thereabouts, but you forgive that run, and he's probably just the best stayer in the race, and he's proven that over a long period of time. He finally gets his crack. the Great Southern Star, and I think he'll be able to work forward, even if he has to breeze over the 2700. I think he'll be strongest at the finish. But Speeding Spur is probably the most talented horse in the race. He won this race last year off a cold sit. He was very good first up off a long break in New Zealand. You'd probably have to question his fitness to some degree, but look, he's going to be right thereabouts in the finish on class. Glenferrie Typhoon, I'm not sure where he's at. He was okay winning Monday, maybe not at his brilliant best, and there's some chance Maritime will cross him at the start, which would make it very tough. And the boss man, he's probably relying on that scenario not unfolding. If it doesn't, Glenferrie Typhoon leads, he comes right into the race.
Yep, I've gone 5, 10, 1 and 2. I'm pretty confused by the race. Speeding Spur, I think, deserves to be favourite. $1.80 out to $1.95 fixed odds. The two horses I'm going to back in the race each way are Great Things Happen. Stuck with him since he's emigrated to Australia, and I just really liked the horse. I thought his run on the Dullard Cup was sensational, 3 wide before the bell. And I'll be backing Cardigan Boko each way. I thought his run on the Dullard was also sensational. He's got gate speed. He should be in the mix early on. And if he is, I think he can run a race at double figure odds. My numbers, though, are 5, 10, 1, 2 and 4. I think Glenferrie Typhoon has to go into your
We're going
quaddies.
top 5s now.
Well, they're the 5 I'll be putting in the quaddie. And this is a race that's going to confuse people, I think, perplex them for how they play the quaddie. I'm just going to throw a handful in rather than trying to isolate them. Glenferrie Typhoon, we've got to throw him in the quaddie, but we don't know what we're going to get. On Thunder Road, we've already mentioned he's your top tip, and Cardigan Boko. So that's the Great Southern Star in a nutshell. Second tier square gating race of the night is the Vulcan Trotters free for all, the Group 3 level. Glenferrie Burn was terrific last start and has been heavily supported.
Yep, and I've ended up going with her. Probably changed my opinion from early in the week. I thought it would be dominated by Highgate and Conan Bridge when the fields first came out, but I've gone 1, 2, 3 and 8. I can't see Conan Bridge getting past Highgate at the start. I know you have a different opinion, but if Highgate leads, Glenferrie Burn was so good in the Cochrane Trotters Cup when running on for third, just being beaten by Highgate there for second. So I think Glenferrie Burn is trending in the right direction. Her first up win was fair without being spectacular, and she really did jump out of the ground. So soft run, I think she's the horse to beat. Highgate, really classy commodity. Again, she'll improve third up from the spell, and she's potentially going to find the lead and be hard to run down. Conan Bridge, at his best, he's probably better than them first up from a break. You can risk him to some degree, I think. And if you're looking for one just to be pinching runs late and run top 4 or top 3, I think Savannah JJ's over the odds. 1, 2, 3 and 8.
I like just subtly pushing things into your vernacular, trending in the right direction. I think we'll be using that a little bit more. I'm glad to hear you using it. 3, 1, 2 and 11 for me. $12 Conan Bridge. I just think he's overs. Beautifully suited to the short course trip. Maybe I'm kidding myself that he can get the front. He's not going to be able to, like Highgate's not going to hand it up to him over 17.20. He's going to have to beat him for speed, her for speed. That's not going to be easy to do, but if he does it, I'm willing to take the risk for $12. I might not be willing to take the risk for 4 or 5, but at $12 I think that's silly overs. Glenferrie Burn, I think her form speaks for itself. Highgate too, and my Tribeca. Yeah, she's perplexing, but Jean Dubois takes the reins. If they burn up their first quarter, she's so strong she has to be in the mix.
El Parco's flying. They're all flying.
El Parco probably better suited to
country trips.
Race 8 on the program. This is the big one. The AG Hunter Cup, $500,000 up for grabs. Group 1 level, the most prestigious race in Victorian harness racing. Great for the race that the 2 champions have drawn the second line. Are you sticking with your man, Lenny, or have you drifted towards the one that punters have smashed straight after the draw in Smolder?
No, I'm going 13, 9 and 5. 9, 5 and 12. I'm not sure whether it's heart over head stuff or head over heart, but I'm willing to say that Lenny the Shark, based on the Ballarat Cup alone, is going to go close to rolling Smolder. He was off a pretty long break, Lenny the Shark. He came out, he had to chase a really hot speed the whole way, and he just kept lifting, was only beaten about 3 metres by Smolder. I know he's probably going to have to park outside him, but that doesn't worry me. Over the staying trip, he can get up and put his nose up outside him and really sort of put it to him a long way out, and I think that suits Lenny to some degree. Smolder's a very, very good horse, and the obvious danger, they should run the exacta. Well, in saying that, Bling It On will probably lob 1-1 behind Lenny the Shark, you'd have to think, and based on him running past that horse a couple of times already this preparation, he could do it again if they go too quickly in front. And I think the horse that is set to run the race of his life on Saturday night is Young Modern. He loves the staying trip, he's going really well. He'll probably be trying to pinch runs in between horses at some stage, but I think he can run a place or at least top 4 at big odds. I went 13, 9, 5 and 12.
I think the key factor to this race remains who's going to be in front and who's going to breeze. I'm not going to give up the name, but I spoke to a very good judge and a top trainer the other day who said Lenny couldn't beat Smolder. Lenny couldn't park outside Smolder and beat him. Smolder might be able to park outside Lenny and beat him. I tend to think neither could park outside the other and beat them. And
I think you're underestimating Lenny's will to win.
Nobody could underestimate Lenny the Shark anymore. I've learnt the hard way, and he is an absolute champion. What he did when he was in pain over in Perth was unbelievable, and what he's done over the last 12 to 18 months, extraordinary.
And Smolden now follows out Yaya's hotspot with the scratching, which is important.
Even better, maybe. Yeah. Even better for him than All Black Stride. They both were scenarios where he was going to lob forward of midfield and be able to cruise around pretty quickly. Mark Purdon renowned for probably letting things unfold before he makes a decision, but I think here he'll make the decision relatively quickly. It's just common sense to get on your bike and try and find the front. Between the two champions, I still think Blenheim always a danger in this sort of race, particularly if he's close enough, and from the draw he should be. I threw in Hug to win for my first fours rather than Young Mod, and that second to Dream About Me in the Auckland Cup good enough for me to suggest that he can figure somewhere in those really wide exotic wages. Race 9 on the program. We won't be talking about this race for too long unless we're going to play exotics. Lazarus $1.04, and I don't want to say you should empty your bank account, but if anybody wants to, they'll get $4 extra for every 100 they spend.
It's funny, we were postulating about this earlier this morning, saying if you're a big businessman and you had $4 billion and you just wanted to turn it over very quickly.
Arbitrary figure.
Yeah, well, I was trying to think of a 4% figure and I've probably gone the wrong way with it. But if you wanted to turn it over really quickly and get 4% on your money, it's a good way to do it. Yeah. I'm 2, 8, 9 and 4. There is, yes, he could fall over, he could gallop, something could go wrong, but outside of that, he can't be beaten. Lazarus, that's about all for me. I think Three Ways is the second best horse in the race, and Brelos Pass can improve, and Battleborn may cross them early, may not, but that's where it ends.
I did think you're dead right. A couple of deads there about Lazarus, who rose from the dead, of course, so good theme there. Lazarus, clearly the best horse in the race. I think Three Ways is clearly, especially right now, the second best horse in the race. Finished second to Lazarus in the Victoria Derby.
He did.
On this night last year, but I do think this scenario where I've played out in my head and I'm getting more and more confident about it, that Lazarus won't be fired off the arm. Battleborn will get a cross early, hand up to Lazarus, and from there he should run second or third, and really you can build your exotics around that. At least I will be doing that. Even if he doesn't, Rock of America can begin so sketchily that he might be able to put the pressure on Lazarus early and drop in behind. So there's a couple of different ways he could end up in the gun spot. Other key runners are Rock of America on ability alone, and Brelos Pass, we know he's an A-grader when he's right. A bit disappointing last weekend in Sydney. The penultimate race on the program, this wonderful 11 race
card. It's been a battle to get here.
And we're going to disagree here. I already know this. Have faith in me. You've got your reservations. He'll be about $1.50, $1.60. He just got the job done on Saturday night. He's not at his best, and you think he's vulnerable.
Oh, he has to be. He absolutely has to be. 5, 7, 2 and 4 my numbers. We know he's got an issue that they can't really correct. He's got, I think, a kidney issue which just isn't going to go away. So he was very sketchy again at the start of the score up last week, which a lot of people might not have noticed, but he nearly did go for a gallop like he did at Ballarat. And I know he paced cleanly throughout the race, but he only just got Maxi Man there. Maxi Man may not lead here, but he's clearly not the horse he was, unfortunately. Have faith in me. Not at the moment. I'm willing to back Maxi Man in, given how well he went in that race, to roll him at good odds. So Maxi Man for me, but plenty of respect for Have Faith in Me. As we know, he's the most talented horse in the race if he's right. My Kiwi mate is going to be somewhere thereabouts from the barrier and Destin Murphy, but it's pretty thin after the top 2, 5 to beat 7, 2 and 4. I'm
sticking with Have Faith in Me. I've tipped Mark Purdon to win 6 races on the program. There's a market for that, 2, 5 or 6 winners is $3.50, I think, with a tab, so that might be worth a little investment.
Unless you've had a bet.
I have not yet, but I've got to Have Faith in Me on top. Maxi Man's problem, I think he would have been the major danger if he went straight to the front. Destin Murphy's the issue there.
Yeah, I'm not
I think
so
Destin Murphy's quick enough to hold him, or at least cause him so much grief getting to the first turn that he'll have an issue in terms of how much petrol he spent. Well, Have Faith in Me's just letting it all unfold before he goes to the breeze.
He might be letting it all unfold out the back, 100 metres away.
Well, that's a bold prediction. And
not really.
Beach Boy Adios is, he's only done that once, really.
Well, he was going to do it again last time.
We better get through the tips. Beach Boy Adios, if you want one straight out of play, sort of throw into your exotics. He's racing terrifically well, and once again gets a good draw in a small field, only 2 place dividends. Final race of the program. I've been waiting for this one.
Yeah, haven't you?
I've got one I think is a dead set stone cold certainty if it trots throughout. What do you like?
I'll let you run wild here. 11, 5, 1 and 4. I think Uncas, again, there has to be speed on for him, but I think he's probably the best horse in the race potentially. You'll disagree.
Yes.
Prince Fearless, I do respect. He was very good last time after making a mess of it at Ballarat, but super win at Bort. He's a good horse. Save Our Pennies is underrated, and he's going to run a monster race from the alley, and maybe Mel Park Royal Sun the other. 11, 5, 1 and 4.
Yep, no, I'm declaring Prince Fearless. I think he's $4 and $3.50. I think he'll start a lot shorter. It's been a while, 18 months since he was competing so well with horses like Monbay and Speeding Spur, but as good as the rivals are here, they wouldn't be capable of doing that. I'm not saying he's at his absolute best, but I liked what I saw in the Central Victorian Trotting Championships at Bort. He's no guarantee to trot all the way. That's your problem. But if he does trot all the way, I think he just wins. I'm with you. I think Uncas is the major danger if things go wrong. With my top tip and best bet, LJK Phoenix has got the class bet. He's enigmatic. And Zettelite might be able to spear to the early lead. But I'm heavily with Prince Fearless. No need to ask me my best bet. I've just told you Prince Fearless. What's yours?
I'm going to steer away from my best bet and say we need to launch into this quaddie. $300,000 pool guarantee. I think a $60,000 jackpot. So I'm going to go 11-1 out in the first leg, Huey Green. Then we're going to play wide in the second leg, 1, 2, 4, 5 and 8. That's the Great Southern Star where I think almost anything could win. Third leg, a little bit skinnier, 1, 2 and 3. Glenferrie Burn, of course, Highgate and Conham Bridge. And then coming home with just the two big guns in the Hunter Cup, 9 and 13. It'll only cost you about $30 for a full unit.
And I will say, you know, whenever something magical happens in your life, you try and recreate it. You have a good party, you go back to the same venue.
Yep.
I had a bit of luck with Card and Merger last weekend. I'm nowhere near as confident about the Defiant, but I was trying to look for something at massive place odds. And just on that proviso...
Will you have a little win bet this week?
I won't. Go back and watch the replays. If you think that he's quick enough to get across the two to his inside, I think he's going well enough that if he was behind the leader, he'd have to be a lot better than a $13 place chance. So we're just trying to create the magic again. Thanks so much for joining us. I know it's been a long haul, but this is the biggest meeting of the year. Good luck and good punting.